Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello and welcome to our course Marketing Management Part 2. This is in continuation to our previous course Marketing Management Part 1. I am Shashi, Shekhar, Mishra, and this course will be jointly offered by me and my senior colleague Prof. Jayanta Chatterjee. We are from Department of Industrial and Management Engineering at IIT Kanpur. So I am going to start this course Marketing Management Part 2 by just giving you a recap of what we have done in the previous course. I am sure you might have already seen the videos of the previous course, but as a reminder or just a recap of what we have discussed in the previous course, in case you have not seen the previous course, try to understand the course from looking at the videos of the previous course, and also have a look on the recap of these videos. So when we started the course Marketing Management Part 1, we have started with defining marketing first, because in our society there are so many myths which are there about marketing as probably a function, that we quite often confuse marketing with sales. So we started the course by discussing about the various myths about marketing, and then we went into the definitional part of this marketing as a domain. Marketing we have tried to define from two different perspectives. We have discussed these two different perspectives in detail. So the first perspective about marketing was social exchange process, where marketing is seen as a exchange of value between two parties, and the definition as defined by Kotler et al. In 2013 is a societal process by which individuals and groups obtain what they need and want through creating, offering and freely exchanging products and services of value with others. So as you can see in this definition, it is defined as a social process. It is a social exchange process where individuals or group of people obtain what they need and want through creating, offering and freely exchanging product and services of value with others. Now we have looked into in detail about what are the conditions that needs to facilitate this exchange process. As you can see, there were 5 conditions. There has to be at least 2 parties. It's quite obvious that exchange cannot happen with just one party being there, and when there are 2 parties, both the parties should have something with them which is of value to others. If other party does not value of what we have, then probably the exchange is not going to happen. The third condition for this exchange to happen was each party is capable of communication and delivery. So you are able to communicate and deliver with the potential partners. Each party is free to accept or reject the exchange offer. Each party believes it is appropriate or desirable to deal with the other party. So these were the 5 important conditions for the exchange to happen. And then we have looked into the another concept which is very important from the perspective of understanding marketing, which was value basically. So value is a concept which is defined as function of these two things, benefit versus cost. You can say in mathematical terms, value is basically a benefit difference cost, or the function of benefit difference cost, whichever is higher is value tilts in that direction. So in this diagram you can see the benefits are on the superior side, then cost, and that happens in the real life situation also. When your benefits are higher than the cost, only then you will get into any exchange process. So the value, if it is greater than 0, will only make sense for any party to go into the exchange process. And then we have looked into this this concept of value further in detail, and then we have said like benefits are can be subcategorized into two categories, emotional benefit and the functional benefit. So if some of you can recall, we talked about the example of a car, wherein we discussed that a car probably offers us both functional and emotional benefit. Functional benefit in terms of that it caters to our transportation needs, as well as it caters to our safety needs. On the other side, car in our society is also attached with the social status of the person. So the costlier the car you have, probably you have the better social status. So you can understand the same product offers both type of benefit, functional and emotional, and most of the product you will see that different offerings are varying in terms of their extent of functional and emotional benefit. The offering which are higher on the emotional benefit side might be more pricey also. On the other side, now when we look into the cost part, there are four types of cost: psychic cost, energy cost, time cost, and the monetary cost. Monetary cost, as you can exchange, it's the value that we pay in return as a customer to the seller. The time cost, energy cost, and the psychic cost are the other costs attached with the purchase of a product or in the exchange. So the time is basically the amount of time that we invest into the searching about the product and into the time that goes into the buying of that product. The energy is the amount of efforts that we put in that goes into the purchase of the product, and the psychic cost is the mental effort that goes into the purchase process. Now it is important that from the seller's point of view, how he can increase the value for their customers by managing benefit and the cost. A customer will go into the exchange process only when the value is on the higher side, and as you can understand that it's not necessarily that someone needs to reduce the monetary cost. He has other three types of cost to play with, so that they can reduce the cost, other types of cost, and still increase the value for the customer without reducing the monetary cost of the product. Then we have looked into the other perspective, or the second definition of the marketing, which was the definition given by the American Marketing Association, which defined marketing as an organizational function and a set of process for creating, communicating, and delivering value to customers, and for managing customer relationship in ways that benefit the organization and stakeholder. So now in this definition you have to understand couple of points, which is like marketing is an organizational function, and this organizational function is executed through a set of activities in the form. This set of activities can be classified into three categories: creation, communication, and delivery. We have discussed a lot more in detail in the first course that how the companies to these days emphasize on this creation part. You will see that a lot of famous and bigger successful firm, they focus so much on creating part that sometimes communication and the delivery is just the secondary. We talked about the case of Apple, we talked about the case of Samsung, we talked about 3M, so many other companies which exist in the space, and they come out continuously with the new offerings which are very innovative, and they create superior value to the customers, and then it becomes very easy for the customer to distinguish those offerings from their competitors' offering. So the creation is important, and then you have communication, where you communicate to the customer about your offering, and taking the product or the offering from your place where you create to the customer's place where they buy it is basically the delivery process. And this has to be done in a way so that you are able to manage the customer relationship. For as an organization, it should remain profitable to its all your stakeholders. If it is not profitable or it doesn't benefit, it does not take care of all the stakeholders' benefit, it will probably not be sustainable thing. These are the things we have shown about this organizational function, it has been depicted through this graphical representation through a picture that what are these three important activities: the creating, communicating and delivering. And then we have tried to explain what is a simple marketing system. What exists in the market is that you have a group of seller called industry, you have a group of buyer called market, and what happens, there is exchange between the buyer and the seller, or you can say seller and buyer. The flow, there are different flows which have been shown in this graphical representation about this simple marketing system, that the seller offers their offering to the customer, to the buyer, and in return they get the monetary benefit, they get the money from the customers. On the other side, you can also see that the sellers also communicate to the customer about the product and the related information, and what comes back to complete the loop is from the buyer side. The seller gets the information about the market, about the buyer, about the nature of the buyer, their buying habits, and that basically help them in reshaping or redefining or evaluating their offerings and modifying them. And from the perspective of a marketing system, it is very important to understand that this communication and information is extremely important, like the offering and the monetary benefit exchange also. Then we have discussed about the difference in the selling process and the marketing process. As you can see from this slide, it is clear that in the selling process, the focus is on making the product and selling it to the customer. So you do not have that creation part or identifying the value, what is of the value to the customer. On the other side, the marketing process starts much before the production of the product. It starts with the identification and creation of the value which is unique and which is valuable to the customer, and then accordingly you create the product and you deliver and communicate it to the customers. So the selling and the marketing difference, one should always be very clear about it from this slide. Then we discussed about some of the core concepts in the marketing, like need, want and demand. Need is basically the basic physiological requirement of a customer, and want is basically something, the needs which are shaped by the socio-cultural environment, and the demand is something which is backed by the purchasing power of the customer. So from a marketing perspective, a marketing manager will be interested in the demand, not only on the want, because there might be many customers who might want to have a particular product, but if they are not having sufficient buying power, then they are of little value to a marketing manager. Then we have looked into this strategic marketing process, how the marketing function is executed, and in this process we have talked about three phases or three stages. That first, the strategic marketing process starts with business analysis, where we analyze through this 3C formula of customer, company and competitor. We analyze our customer, we analyze our organization, company, its strength and weakness, its opportunity and threats. These frameworks have been discussed by Professor Chatterjee in the previous course. You can go back and have a look on those sessions. Then we have looked into the competitor analysis. There were different competitor analysis framework which were discussed, and then based on this business analysis we strategize, so that marketing strategy part is the next thing after business analysis which happens. There you classify the customer, which is called as segmentation. Then based on the important characteristics you evaluate the different segments, and you look into the different variables to decide which customer segment to target. And then the third thing is the positioning, like how you should position your offering in the mind of the customer, so that it is a clearly distinguished, clearly differentiated offering from your competitors. And then the third thing which comes under strategic marketing process is this marketing mix, how this strategy is being executed in the market, in the field. is primarily through this marketing mix. In the case of product, you will see that there are 4 P's: product, price, place and promotion. In the case of services, we have discussed about the 7 P's. And then we have started discussing about in the course the different stages of marketing research process, how basically you research about the customers to understand and analyze the customers. The marketing research process was explained through these steps, that it starts with the management decision problem, and that management decision problem is converted into a marketing research problem. You can recall that there is a cause and effect relationship between management decision problem and marketing research problem. Based on our the marketing research problem and the objective of the research, we develop the research plan and collect the information. The collected information is analyzed and the report and the findings are reported. These are the input to the marketing manager to make the decisions. We have discussed about the different types of research design. Primarily there used to be 2 research design: exploratory research design and the conclusive research design. In the conclusive research design, it has been further subcategorized into 2 categories: descriptive research, which is further subcategorized into 2 categories: cross-sectional design and the longitudinal design, and the other type of conclusive design was causal research design. As far as goes about the customer, so we have looked into the 2 different types of customer behavior. One was B2C consumer market. We have looked into the business to consumer market, and then we have looked into the business to business market, and correspondingly we have learnt about consumer behavior in the B2C market and the industrial buyer behavior which is corresponding to B2B market. And then when we were discussing about the consumer behavior, we have looked into this 5-stage buying process. In the case of consumer buying process, the consumer buying process starts with the need recognition, which is followed by information search, and then comes the evaluation of alternative, purchase decision, post purchase behavior. This was a 5-stage simple process in case of consumer decision making. As you can recall, the need recognition stage is the stage where consumer identifies that he needs something. So this is basically a problem definition, or what you say, problem recognition stage, where a consumer understands that he wants something, he has a need basically, and that need has to be satisfied by some offering. And then once a consumer understands that he needs something, then he start looking for the information on how the need can be basically satisfied, what are the different alternatives, and what are the important criteria to evaluate those different offerings or the different alternatives. Then the 3rd stage is about evaluation of alternatives, where a consumer, based on the information collected, decides which alternative is more suitable to his or her condition. So this stage is basically evaluation of alternatives. Then the 4th stage is basically once a consumer decide which offering is good for them, they go for purchase of that product or the offering. And in the last stage is of this consumer buying process was post purchase behavior. In the post purchase behavior, it is something which is very important from the long run sustainability of the company, that if a consumer finds that he is not satisfied with the product or the offering supplied by a company or the seller, they might not be a very satisfied customer, and they will not come back to you, and also they might spread negative word of mouth that may hurt the company prospect in the long run. So this was a consumer buying process. Then we have also looked into this business buying process. It gets slightly modified from the consumer buying process. There are this consumer compared to consumer buying process, the business buying process is far more complex. One of the reasons why this complexity is added, that instead of having a one consumer or at max a family buying a product. Here you have a concept of buying center. As you can recall, we have discussed in that course that a group of or a very set role defined for professionals, they become the part of purchasing. So a group of professionals basically form buying center, and these professionals have a different roles in these buying centers, and they basically performs those different roles, and depending on their roles and their objectives and their contextual conditions, they exert a different kind of influences in the buying process, and that makes the business buying process far more complex than a consumer buying process. You can also recall that B2B buying process, as we commonly abbreviate it as, B2B buying process is more time consuming, and it requires more steps. So it starts with the need recognition, which is similar to B2C buying process. Then that need recognition is converted into the description of that need, and then you create the product specification. Then supplier search start, then you solicit or you seek the proposals from the suppliers, and based on their proposals you decide which supplier to select, and then once you select the supplier, then order specifications are created, and at the end of this business buying process you can understand that there is a performance review, because unlike B2C, in B2B this performance review of the different suppliers is an important activity for the purchasing department of an organization. They continuously try to evaluate their suppliers. Whichever supplier is not doing good, they are either informed that they are not doing good to the expectation of the firm, or the contract is terminated. So with this I will stop this session here, and when we will meet in the next session, we will try to wrap up what we have discussed in the marketing management part 1, and then we will start talking about the 4 P's, and we will go into in depth of each of these 4 P's, or the different components of the marketing mix. Thank you very much.